the liquor policy change route. So these are questions that the ED's investigating officer wants Mr. Kejriwal to answer. There are fresh leads that have emerged from questioning of Aam Aadmi Party's Rajya Sabha MP Sanjay Singh and his aides also. Plus Arvind Kejriwal's own close, aides like Birla, like Jasmine Shah, they have been questioned, and there are leads that ED has received from there as well. So they do want to know from Mr. Kejriwal as to what all did he know about the way this policy was formulated, being tweaked. What did he know about the way the cabinet note was prepared? What did he know about the South Group meeting the senior leaders of the Aam Aadmi Party? Aam Aadmi Party politically is preparing, it seems, for arrest of Arvind Kejriwal. If the Chief Minister gets arrested, who would fill in? Already Manish Sisodia and Sanjay Singh are in jail. Most of the portfolios are with Atishi and Saurabh Bhardwaj. If Mr. Kejriwal also is taken into custody, what is the way ahead for Aam Aadmi Party? The party is already making a political hue and cry. The Enforcement Directorate for now is keeping its cards very close to its chest. The Enforcement Directorate's countdown for Arvind Kejriwal has begun. The Enforcement Directorate wants to question Arvind Kejriwal in the Delhi excise policy scam, November 22nd, post 11 a.m.
Good evening, welcome to Rastax. I'm Zakir Jacob. TMC Member of Parliament Mahua Moitra was today questioned by the ethics panel of the Parliament. She was asked specific questions on whether she violated her login credentials, giving it to private individuals who may have had a conflict of interest with the Adani Group. She was also asked questions on whether there was a financial quid pro quo for those questions that she asked, some of them connected with this corporate group. She, of course, answered those questions. She did make a case out as to how this entire thing was brought against her by somebody with whom she had a personal relationship and then a fallout, and that it went on. The whole questioning by the ethics panel went on for a good 2.5 hours, after which something happened in that meeting and she dramatically stormed out. To the reporters who were waiting outside, Mahua Moitra said that she was asked very deeply personal and offensive questions by some members of the ethics panel. Some of those members of the ethics panel dispute her claims. They say they simply asked her very valid questions about her travel, who funded those travels, about her login credentials, who else was using her login credentials. Very valid questions which she was subject to. Irrespective of whether these questions were personal or whether these questions were valid, the point is Mahua Moitra has been in the hot seat for the last couple of weeks. The onus is on her to clear the air, to clear her own name, her own reputation, not just on the question of sharing login credentials, but more importantly also on whether there was any kind of financial or non-financial quid pro quo for those questions. Has Mahua managed to clear the air, or has today's dramatic set of events only made the cloud of suspicion on her that much stronger? Was it politics or was it provocation? That's the debate tonight, but first the story.
What happened? Reading from a script. This is an ethics committee. What happened, Mahua? Asking all sorts of big questions.
In the ethics committee, unethical questions were being asked from a lady member.
And you're saying that the chairman asked these questions?
Yes.
He felt that he was being kind of undignified, and the way he was questioning the lady MP. Instead of
What was he asking?
saying, where are you traveling? Where are you staying there?
तो क्या एथिक्स कमेटी को ये पूछने का अधिकार नहीं है किससे आपने ड्राफ्ट कराया, फोन नंबर क्या है, कॉल डिटेल क्या है? ये आप पूछने का अधिकार नहीं है. यदि ये पूछा जाएगा तो पर्सनल हो जाएगा.
महुआ मोइत्रा के द्वारा उसमें सहयोग करने के बजाय क्रोध से क्रोधित होकर कमेटी के ऊपर, कमेटी के चेयरमैन के ऊपर शब्दों का प्रयोग करते हुए
All right, clearly there is deep contention between the government members and the opposition members as far as what happened in the ethics committee is concerned. But let's not take away from what is critical in this matter, and those are the charges against Mahua Moitra. And charge number 1 is that she illegally shared her login details with Darshan Hiranandani. Her claim is that she's not shared the NIC credentials. What she shared was the login for the Parliament portal, the Lok Sabha portal. Charge number 2 is that she used or allowed the use of her login credentials by a third party, in this case a corporate house which may or may not be directly sort of competing with the corporate house against whom she's been raising questions. They used that 47 times out of the 60 odd questions that she's asked. 47 times that login ID was used from Dubai, not from within India's borders. Charge number 3, that in lieu of those questions, she received gifts and cash to pose those questions to the central government, to the Modi government. Charge number 4, she also had access to a Dubai-based tycoon, Mr. Darshan Hiranandani, and that threatened national security. And charge number 5, that she conspired to bolster the interests of a particular businessman who she says was a friend of hers, but more critically, that businessman may or may not have had a direct conflict of interest with the other business group that she was railing against, the Adani Group. Now, as the ethics panel was holding this hearing today against the TMC MP, all hell broke loose. The TMC MP, along with other opposition members of the ethics panel, they walked out in what was very dramatic scenes that happened in the Parliament complex. Let's just play that out once again for our viewers, and then we'll go across to our debate.
An ethics committee who is reading from a script, asking all sorts of filthy questions. All the MPs are here.
People are walking out in protest.
We have walked out from the committee. Because they are asking unethical questions.
सर आप लोगों ने वॉकआउट क्यों किया है सर?
वॉकआउट इसलिए क्या कि रात में किससे बात करते हो, क्या बात करते हो, ये चेयरमैन पूछेंगे क्या? ये क्या मतलब है? This is too much.
Where are the tears and eyes? You're making up any rubbish. Tears in your eyes. You see my eyes and the tears in it. Then what are you talking shit for? Tears in my eyes.
All right, now Mahua Moitra has tweeted her response, and this is part of our Motorola India's best 5G smartphone brands tweet of the day. We'll go to that just right now.
Hello, Moto.
All right, so Mahua Moitra has tweeted out a letter to the Lok Sabha Speaker with a detailed counter, and this is what it says. Unethical, sordid and prejudiced behavior was meted out to me, subjected to proverbial vastraharan by ethics panel chief. That's the word that she's used. There is no evidence of any cash changing hands. That is again her contention, that there was no quid pro quo, no money trail that's been established by any of the complainants or the corroborative sort of account by the businessman in question. There's been no misuse of my official credentials. Remember, the NIC gives you an email, an official email and a password. She says that that was not violated. It was only the login portal. No unauthorized or unsupervised questions were submitted on her behalf. Request the Secretariat of Parliament to disclose the login rules for all MPs, and inaction by the ethics panel when the government snooped using Pegasus. Remember, she was also one of those members who a couple of days ago got an Apple alert, a threat notification saying that you could potentially be the victim of a state-sponsored attack. No action over unethical conduct by members of the ruling party without specifying who those members are. Questioning the government is countered with harassment, is what she's also said in that letter to the Speaker, and she seeks protection from being subjected to personal humiliation. Let's now go across to our big debate. Mahua Moitra fumes at the ethics panel. She walks out. Is this provocation or is this pure politics? That's our debate tonight here on Brass Tacks. So let me open this up to our guest, Shazia Ilmi, spokesperson of the BJP, who's joining us. Riju Datta is spokesperson of the TMC. Rashid Kidwai, senior journalist, who's also joining us. And Gargi Nandi Roy, political analyst. Now, Riju Datta, we don't know what these questions were, which Mahua is saying was deeply personal, filthy, etc. Point is that whatever questions she was being asked by the ethics panel and the cloud of charges against her are very serious, isn't it incumbent upon her to sit there and answer those questions and clear her role beyond any reasonable doubt on whether she was asking questions on someone else's behalf and whether there was any kind of quid pro quo for those questions? What is the point of this dramatic storming off and saying these are personal questions, these are filthy? That doesn't serve any purpose. Riju Datta.
Now, so let me start off by saying that, this so-called ethics committee needs to be renamed first. It does not have any model code of conduct, neither it has any moral code of conduct. It's an ethics-less committee. Our honorable member of the parliament had certain allegations against her. She went there to answer the questions. And you are asking me what questions were asked? The questions asked of a lady member of parliament was, "Aap raat ko kahan rehte ho aur raat ko kisse baat karte ho?" Are these the questions related remotely to the allegations made against her? First of all, it was nothing short of scenes from the Mahabharata. It was like Draupadi's Chiraran, where the chairman of the ethics committee played the role of Dhritarashtra and the other BJP goons there played the role of Duryodhan. This is shameless beyond, beyond words. The bottom line is very simple, Zaka, and I'm speaking to the millions of viewers of your channel. If the ethics committee, first of all, it does not have any criminal jurisdiction. Secondly, if the BJP had even one shred of evidence that she has taken gifts or cash in return for any favors, then BJP would have filed an FIR and put her behind bars. So they do not have anything. All this is, this drama, this national media circuses, just to choke the voice of dissent, so that Mr. Modi and his boss Gautam Adani cannot be questioned in the parliament.
No, one second, Riju. Before I go to the other guests, one second. Let's not brush aside the gravity of the charges against her, right? Whether or not there was a financial trail, whether or not she got gifts and in kind for these questions asked, that is something that a criminal investigation has to establish. But it is a fact, as per her own admission, that she gave login credentials to a person who is not just, some private secretary or some PRS staff. That person is the scion of a corporate house whose family business directly is in competition with the corporate house that she's been railing against. That is not a small matter. That's a very serious, very grave charge, and she has to answer that before the ethics committee.
Two points I'll just mention to you and to your viewers. First of all, is there by the ethics committee of the parliament any law that says you cannot give your ID or password to somebody else? It is not the NIC email ID. It is the ID password for posting questions. Point number one. The point number two is, when BJP was saying all this about national security and everything, please tell me, Zaka, if the questions you can get those questions by filing a normal RTI. How is that a part of national security when you can get those questions by filing a normal RTI? So all this, again I'm saying, all this national media circuses just to choke the voice of dissent.
So let me go across to Shazia Ilmi. Shazia Ilmi, you're a woman politician. You don't need me to tell you, how the deck is stacked up against mainstream women politicians. Mahua Moitra claims, and forget about what Mahua Moitra is claiming, there are 6 other members of the opposition who are part of the ethics panel. A good number of them, Danish Ali, Uttam Kumar Reddy, a whole bunch of other opposition MPs who are part of this ethics panel, walked out along with Mahua Moitra and said, what is this rubbish? Why does the ethics panel need to know where she was staying the night when she was going on a trip to Dubai? Who she was speaking to at night on the phone? I mean, what relevance does that have with the issue at hand? And surely, any woman MP or politician who is in Mahua Moitra's position, being asked such questions, would be rightfully angry, would be rightfully, cheesed off. You wouldn't dare ask such a question to a male MP. Shazia.
Why not? There are male MPs who have had to resign. So first of all, I would like to say that whether it's impropriety or matter of privilege or ethics, when it comes to corruption or impropriety, where the law is concerned, law is completely gender neutral. That's one and most important in this matter that we're discussing right now. Now tell me, there are male members who have lost their membership and have been suspended and even thrown out for much smaller crimes or misdemeanors. Do you think Mahua Moitra, who is finding herself in a soup of sorts, is just muddying the waters and bringing this angle and using this old hackneyed victim card of मैं woman हूँ, मेरे से सवाल पूछे जा रहे हैं? You know, when it's a matter of gifts, you have to have trace and find out about quid pro quo. One is it indicts her in many ways when you look at the facts of the matter. Darshan Hiranandani, conflict of interest with the group she has been rallying against. 50 out of 61 questions, all against one group. One, data center, talking about data localization, being part of the committee and raising the same question that obviously on which Darshan Hiranandani and his group has lost the tender and in West Bengal.
No, Shazia,
So,
one second.
look,
I think we're going all over the place. One second, Shazia. Let me come to the pointed question. Let's come to the pointed question of what happened today. Right?
I will say.
Like I said, she is claiming, and it's being corroborated by other opposition members of the ethics panel, that she was asked questions like, which hotel were you staying? Who were you staying with? Who funded your hotel stay? Now, please tell me, Shazia, for any woman politician who's put in the hot seat, are these questions to be asked, and what relevance do those questions have with the matter at hand?
Who's funding your foreign trips? Who's funding the hotel stays? Who are you talking to in vis-a-vis this matter? It doesn't matter if you're a woman or a man. If you were a man and you were in this place and you were a member of parliament and you were indulging in impropriety and blatant corruption by working with a business party, in rallying against another business party and using your MP status and giving your login and your password to another person. Darshan Hiranandani could be a woman for that matter. But the fact of the matter is not the gender here. The fact of the matter is the corruption here.
Okay.
And establishing of quid pro quo.
Very quickly, Riju, gender does not matter. She may try her best to play the victim card. Fact of the matter is, login credentials were compromised. And what the ethics committee was seeking to establish was, were there any financial favors in lieu of those? So, who was funding your trip to Dubai is a valid question, according to the BJP.
Zaka, see, yes, when the BJP says that the law should be equal, gender equal, I agree with that. But just imagine me as the TMC spokesperson asked the BJP spokesperson the same questions, that where were you last night, where were you staying and who were you talking to? You will have my head on a stick on the next debate. So,
yes, if I was corrupt, you should ask me that question. Okay, if I was a member of parliament and I was a businessman funding me or a businesswoman, you should ask me that question. Is that businesswoman or a man funding me or not?
Okay, Shazia, one second. Let him finish. Shazia, let him finish. Let him make the point, and then I'll come to you. Yeah. Let him make the point. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, let him make the point.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, Riju, make the point.
Thank you. Now see, I'll give you a chronology to your viewers. Every session, whenever there were questions asked against particularly Mr. Adani, the MPs, and I'm naming the MPs. You take from my party, my Rajya Sabha leader, Derek O'Brien, every session is suspended. Second, Mr. Rahul Gandhi, some frivolous thing, he was suspended from the parliament. Sanjay Singh, they got him arrested. Mahua Moitra, they want to shut him up with this bogus charges. And if what Ms. Ilmi is saying, there is corruption. Corruption is a criminal offence. What will ethics committee do with a criminal charge? The ethics committee cannot put you behind bars, Zaka, right?
Okay.
The only thing they can do is they can suspend you for
all right. One second. Let me put a timeout on this for 1 second. Let me just put a timeout on this for 1 second. I want to play out what Mahua Moitra said. Can we just play that out? What Mahua Moitra said right after this entire dramatic scenes that happened earlier this evening. she stormed out of the ethics panel. There were other members of the ethics panel who stormed out along with her. Danish Ali, you could see, Uttam Kumar Reddy of the Congress. There were others as well. There were about 4 or 5 of them who came out and said the same things. Let me just play out that sound bite, and then I'll go across to our other 2 guests, Rashid, and to Professor Gargi Nandi Roy.
Initially, the rule is that one doesn't talk about what happens in ethics committee meeting. I think for the first time in history today, at any committee meeting, that you had people often boycott and walk out. And I've been in committee meetings where we boycotted or walked out. That's different. But you had 5 members of the committee. There were only 11 people present. 5 members of the committee walked out in protest and boycotted the proceedings at the chairperson's behavior. It was anything but an ethics committee. It was the most unethical hearing possible, where the chairman came with a pre-written script from which he was reading out, which contained the most disgusting, invasive, private details about my personal life, which had nothing to do with the hearing whatsoever. The 2 issues which were supposed to be decided was the issue of the NIC login portal. I was not even given a copy of the NIC report. I've already said that from 2019, my NIC login, my questions were done by somebody in my friend's office. I've already said that there was nothing and there were no rules governing it, and every MP shares it with at least 10 people during the course of their tenure. So we said that was the issue to be decided. Number 1. What were the rules around it? What rule have I broken, if any? That's it. The chairperson insisted on asking the most cheap, sordid questions about my personal life, including who do you talk to at night? How many times? Can you give me those call details? Have you been to a hotel with X? Have you stayed there? Where have you been in the last 5 years? Where all have you been? I mean, then he says, you call so-and-so a dear friend. Does his wife know about this? And he mentions the wife's name. What is going on? He was warned repeatedly. Only the chairperson was questioning. The rest of the BJP members were fine.
Okay. So, Rashid Kejriwal, this is her version of events. There are BJP members also, Rashid, who have come out and said that none of this was asked. All she was... One second, Shazia. There are other two panelists also. Let me go to them, please. Rashid, there are BJP members of the panel also who have come out and said none of this was asked. What she was asked were very valid questions. Two things that she definitely needs to clarify on. Number 1, what business did she have giving her login credentials to somebody who's a business rival of the very corporate group that she has been railing and ranting against? That's number 1. That's a valid conflict of interest question. The second question that she was asked is quid pro quo. What about all these LV bags and Hermes scarves and whatever other expensive gifts that she, as she says, Darshan is a friend of hers, was giving to her? Why? What for? I mean, you just don't shower such expensive gifts for no reason, right?
Zaka, I think it is slightly problematic and disturbing that a woman's, personal conduct, her otherwise, robust social life is being brought in question for all these things. I don't know whether login from, Dubai in this time and age in terms of technology is a matter of, grave, national security threat, etc. Mahua is herself to be different, but I think the way the focus is being on her personal life, it reeks of, patriarchal approach, and, she's been, subjected to a lot of things which have been avoided by those, who brought recently Women Reservation Bill and got it a historical bill passed. And look at the BJP's double standard, Zaka. In 2005, when the cash for query, this thing by Cobra Post, that sting operation resulted in expulsion of 11 parliamentarians, 6 of them were from BJP. What was LK Advani's stand then? He said it's a kangaroo court. They did not get fair trial. And in this case, why can't the BJP be a curious bystander? How come, it's a matter of between ethics panel and a member of parliament? Zaka, just let me remind you, all those people who have leveled allegations against her, they were all her personal friends. So we do not know what was the nature of relationship, what happened. But this kind of interference in her personal life, I find it a little disturbing. She may have committed impropriety, wrongdoings and all. I'm not there to defend out of that count. But the whole thing is she seems to be victim on grounds of what gender.
Okay, victim on grounds of gender. Professor Gargi Nandi Roy.
No.
Why do you disagree with Rashid's characterization of what happened today?
This has nothing to do with gender issues, Zaka, neither with patriarchy. What Mahua has done is absolute breach of her parliamentary privilege. There have been 47 logins from Darshan Hiranandani's office in Dubai. She was not supposed to give that. So obviously the ethics committee had to know where was her location when the logins happened. And then Darshan Hiranandani has himself said that he had funded her trips. So obviously the question will come now that when you went abroad, who funded? And 15 times, I don't think she visited her constituency as many times she has gone abroad without informing the speaker. So she went, and obviously who funded that? And when she comes, okay, few cosmetics, she herself accepted Bobbi Brown cosmetics. What is the cost of Bobbi Brown cosmetics? The rule is if a parliamentarian gets any gift above 5,000, she has to report that. Did she do that? No. The learned panelist Kidwaiji spoke about the Cobra post and 2005 case. So there is a precedent. 11 people were expelled, of 6 were BJP. I agree. So there was 1 Congress also, 1 RJD, 3 BSP also. And back in 1951, H.G. Mudgal was forced to resign for cash for query from the provisional parliament. He had only taken 5,000 rupees. But none of these people, none of these incidents we see that they had given their login ID. So which is a criminal offence, because this could have endangered the security of the country. Imagine anybody else. She is member of so many standing committees. So anybody else hacking from there could get important information. So what she has done is a criminal offence. What Riju said that their ethics committee does not have the power to take criminal offences. Okay, ethics committee will recommend it to the speaker and she will have to resign or she will be expelled, and it is already with the CBI and CBI can investigate that. And what has she done? She is very good in creating drama and ruckus. See what she has done in the parliament. She has created drama, and in the garb of attacking Mr. Modi and Adani, what she did is she served the interest of Mr. Darshan Hiranandani. Of the 50 questions, let us take up few questions, Zaka. Say her question on the Paradip port, the MOU between GAIL and Adani and IOC. What happened then? Who won the bid for natural gas, oil and gas pipeline there? Hiranandani won that bid for natural oil and gas. Why? Then again come, she was not asking any question about her constituency. Her constituency is suffering. The river in her constituency, Anjana, has dried. No question, nothing for that. She raised a question on the handling capacity of Kolkata port. And then we see Darshan Hiranandani entered into an MOU with Kolkata Port Trust. She raised question about the readiness of 5G, and then we see Yota, a company of Hiranandani, apply for license for global mobile personal communication satellite rights. So just see, these are not coincidences. So obviously the ethics committee had to see that there are 47 logins. She had gone 15 times abroad, which she is not supposed to. She did not inform the speaker. She did not mention about the gifts. Her house, government house, was redeveloped or renovated by Darshan Hiranandani. Darshan Hiranandani himself said that she is so dominating, she was so assertive, and to get facilities in non-BJP state, Darshan Hiranandani was literally forced to shower on her.
Okay. Now, once again, let me ask Riju to respond to this. Riju, the fact of the matter is that when people elect a member of parliament, in her case, the voters of Krishnanagar, expect her to raise questions that are of concern to the voters of Krishnanagar, right? Now, of all these questions that she's asked, 62 of them, I believe the login from Dubai was 40 plus times. What does it concern the voters of Krishnanagar?
47.
I mean, these are questions that you can agree or disagree that it may have a conflict of interest with another rival corporate group. I had Mahua on the show a few nights ago and she said, you know, Hiranandanis have no clash with what the Adani business is. But fact of the matter is, none of these questions have anything to do with her constituents either. The people who voted her to public office.
Zaka, Mr. Amit Shah, Mrs. Nirmala Sitharaman, they are also members of parliament. When was the last time they have asked a single question about their constituency on the floor? So, you know, these are frivolous comments. See, the basic problem is these BJP people have problem with Mahua Moitra's Louis Vuitton and Salvatore Ferragamo. But what they don't know is that before she joined politics, she was a banker and she was using Louis Vuitton before BJP can spell Louis Vuitton. That is the problem. BJP is a bunch of chauvinistic politicians who cannot take a woman asking questions. And again, I will say, when Mrs. Gargi Ramdi Roy was saying, Darshan Hiranandani getting this favor, that favor, what they don't know is that Darshan Hiranandani has 30,000 crore investment just in Uttar Pradesh only. And Uttar Pradesh is run by BJP's blue-eyed boy, Mr. Yogi Adityanath, and it's a BJP government there. Darshan Hiranandani has more investment in BJP-run states than in non-BJP-run states. So what kind of a debate are we having? If there was corruption, I am telling you, BJP would have arrested her by now.
It's very unfair,
There is no
that you
proof.
have given me the lead.
There is
Okay.
no proof at all.
Okay, let Shazia respond. Shazia, it's fine.
Interjected
These
me.
are
No,
brickbats that I
interjected
face on
me
a
at
daily
very
basis. It's
spoke
okay.
for.
It doesn't affect me. But go ahead. Please make your point.
No, I tell you
The
why.
point that
I
you
tell you
need to
why.
make. The
I
point
was
that you
making
need to
these
make
points
is
earlier.
what is the criminality involved, and if there is criminality involved, let the agencies investigate. Why the agency is not investigating this? Who is the ethics panel to investigate criminality?
So while Riju Datta waxed eloquently about the investment of Adani Ports in UP, he very sweetly and cutely forgot to mention the big investment in Tajpur Ports, New Tajpur, which has been made by Mamata Banerjee and has given the tender to Mr. Adani. It is more than 15,000 crores, and there is the green studies are already there going on, and that is what is going on there. So it's very convenient to talk about other states. So Mr. Riju Datta, please don't muddy the waters. We are not fools. And secondly, and most importantly, the fact that I was raising earlier, the questions of data localization, the top questions on Adani Ports, even if they are valid, there are a lot of journalists and there are a lot of politicians who are sometimes whistleblowers who want prevention of corruption, but there are some who take on a corporate only to benefit another corporate group. In this case, it was not because she did not believe she believed that there was anything wrong happening with the Adani Group. She was helping a friend. It could be a woman, it could be a man. It doesn't bother me. Darshan could have been a brother, could have been a son, but the fact of matter was that it was an interested party. There was conflict of interest. What was a quid pro quo which led her to her giving the login ID? I'm not talking about an Hermes scarf or a Louis Vuitton. I'm not even talking about the war of custody with Henry I or Henry VIII. I'm not interested in any of that. But I'm talking about specifically a businessman who gives and she admits it. And when it comes to giving interviews on her own, she unsolicitedly gives answers and gives information on her personal life. The questions that were asked was, how many times did you visit Dubai? When did you meet Mr. Darshan Hiranandani? Which hotel did you stay in? Who paid for that hotel? These are very valid questions. Any man or a woman should be asked those questions. And when she did not answer, these questions were repeated. These were the questions asked. So Riju Datta is lying here. And I want to tell Rashid Kejriwal, please, being a woman will not give you immunity against impropriety and corruption. Remember that.
Okay.
You can play the woman card, man card, transgender card, doesn't matter.
Woman card does not work because here the question is whether the MP violated A, parliamentary privileges, and B, whether she got any financial and non-financial rewards for the questions asked. Why should, of the 62 questions she's asked as a member of parliament over the last 5 years, why should 47 of them have been logged from Dubai or wherever else? That's a valid question for the ethics committee to ask.
Yeah, Zaka Ethics Committee is seized of the matter. They are applying their mind. They have not given verdict. But my friends from the BJP and their sympathizers seems to have made up their mind. They think, Mahua Moitra is guilty, and that is, I find it that is bit, problematic. That's point number one. Second thing I am saying, the trial by ethics panel, the BJP itself in 2005 had described it as a verdict of a kangaroo court. They have not responded to that particular thing. See, is there a law that says that you cannot log in from Dubai?
They were suspended, period.
No, they were expelled, by the way. They were expelled, they were not suspended. There's a world of difference between the two things.
So they were expelled.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. And the BJP protested
So
about it. Mr. Adani had protested. I'm not going into that case. I'm just saying, what is BJP's interest? What is BJP's interest? If she was doing
Mr. Adani can be protesting, but should Mahua be expelled by the same logic? You said it. Should Mahua Moitra be expelled? Mahua Moitra should be expelled. By the same logic, Mahua
That's
Moitra
your
should
point
be
of view.
expelled immediately, isn't it?
Yeah, let the
Why
committee findings
why
come out.
bringing issues of gender? You yourself admit, doesn't matter what
I
Mr.
am saying
Advani
it because
felt or
Tanya, you are a
protested.
woman.
The
You
fact
should
of the matter
understand
was
this.
that they were
Why is her
expelled.
personal life being,
And this is a quid
questioned?
pro quo.
My
And the
All
question
right,
is
I got to leave it at that.
Mahua
I got to leave it at
wants
that.
to
I will simply say that, you know, the point of the ethics committee to find out whether there was a breach of ethics, there was a breach of trust of the voters who voted her to parliament, and whether or not she compromised that by giving her login credentials to an interested party, somebody who is a corporate rival to a group which she has been railing and ranting against. Those are the matters that absolutely and ultimately will decide her continuance as a member of parliament. It's rather unfortunate that, you know, this thing got wound up in all the personal stuff that happened today, which led to her walking out and storming off, and other opposition members of the ethics panel storming off. But we'll see how this plays out, because this isn't the last that you've heard on this story. We're going to take a quick break here in the program. When we come back on the other side, it's another showdown that continues over the Liquorgate scandal after Arvind Kejriwal today, who was supposed to appear before the Enforcement Directorate, he skipped the ED summons. As the evidence mounts against top AAP leaders, is this tactic a dodge to try and discredit the probe, or is there valid reason for why Arvind Kejriwal today did not show up before the ED for questioning? That face-off right on the other side after this quick break.
Hello, Moto.
Has been given, but will he, won't he, that suspense remains. Now, Arvind Kejriwal is scheduled to be in Madhya Pradesh, Singrauli, to address an election rally, and he could be accompanied by Bhagwant Mann, the Chief Minister of Punjab. The current schedule, as we have been told by sources, is that Bhagwant Mann is arriving in Delhi tomorrow morning, and as per the schedule, Arvind Kejriwal and Bhagwant Mann are to take a flight to Varanasi and from there onwards to Singrauli. And that is what they have informed the Enforcement Directorate, that because this is a pre-scheduled election engagement, elections are due in Madhya Pradesh on the 17th, they are campaigning for their party, both the Chief Ministers of Delhi and Punjab, and there are a lot of people who will be waiting to hear them. So on that ground, on the ground of electioneering, Arvind Kejriwal has sought more time from ED, but whether he will be given more time, whether fresh summons will be issued to him, that suspense remains. In the past also, we have seen chief ministers like Chief Minister of Jharkhand, Hemant Soren, not appearing on the first day of summon and asking for more time. And the ED usually, under the Prevention of Money Laundering Act, does give you 3 chances. But in this case, we are still waiting for a confirmation either from Aam Aadmi Party or from the Enforcement Directorate to tell us clearly if Arvind Kejriwal will ultimately not appear before the Enforcement Directorate on November 2nd post 11 a.m. Now, why does ED really want to question Arvind Kejriwal? The questioning is likely on 3 fronts. This is the first time he'll appear before the ED. Earlier in April this year, he had answered questions of Central Bureau of Investigation in the same case. But ED wants to have Kejriwal to answer 3-point questionnaire. Number 1, is the Aam Aadmi Party the real beneficiary of the liquor policy scam? That is the charge that the ED has made in the Supreme Court also during the bail hearing of Manish Sisodia. They have even said that we are legally looking at the option of making Aam Aadmi Party a party in the charge sheet, because the ultimate beneficiary, the proceeds of the crime went into the party coffer, and that was utilized allegedly to fight the elections in Goa and perhaps in Punjab also. So the first question for Kejriwal would be, is he aware that the party of which he is the national convener, that party's coffers were receiving ill-gotten money from this alleged corruption? That will be question number 1, point number 1 that Kejriwal will be asked to clarify. Point number 2 could be, why is it that in various conversations with the accused, for example, Mr. Nair, who's a key accused, who's an aide of Mr. Kejriwal and Mr. Sisodia, multiple witnesses have confirmed that Mr. Nair in his conversation, FaceTime conversations, have connected accused of Indo-Spirit, Samir Mahindru, with Mr. Kejriwal, where Arvind Kejriwal said that Nair was his man, Vijay Nair was his man. So why did he say so? Was he aware that Vijay Nair was negotiating with the South Group and promising them that in lieu of money, hundreds of crores, the policy of Delhi liquor will be tweaked. Was Mr. Kejriwal aware of that? The third thing is that some witnesses have quoted, in the case of Amandeep Dahal, another accused in this case, it has been said by the Enforcement Directorate that Arvind Kejriwal at one point said that 100 crore is required by the Aam Aadmi Party to fight the elections. Did he say this? Did this 100 crore act?
Welcome back to Brass Tacks. Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal, who was supposed to appear before the Enforcement Directorate for questioning today, skipped the ED summons. This is in connection with the Liquorgate investigation, and instead he campaigned in poll-bound Madhya Pradesh. In his reply to the Enforcement Directorate, the Delhi Chief Minister said that there was no clarity on why he was being summoned, calling it a fishing and roving inquiry aimed at maligning his reputation and even possibly arresting him. The BJP, on the other hand, has staged a protest at Rajghat and demanded Arvind Kejriwal's resignation, accusing him of running away from an investigation as the evidence mounts against his government. It also comes after the Supreme Court denied bail to Manish Sisodia, saying that a 338 crore money trail has been tentatively established. So, is this a tactic by the Chief Minister to dodge the probe and discredit the probe, or is he genuinely agreed on not appearing before the ED today because, as the Aam Aadmi Party says, this is a witch hunt? Which of these two is true? But first, the story so far.
ईडी के संबंध में ये कहीं साफ नहीं हो रहा कि वो अरविंद केजरीवाल जी को किस हैसियत में बुला रहे हैं।
कमेटी के सामने, ईडी के सामने, एजेंसी के सामने पेश नहीं होना, ये एक तरह से कहीं न कहीं डर को दिखाता है, स्वीकृति को दिखाता है कि हाँ, मैंने गलती की।
All right, joining us on the talking point, it's a short face-off tonight. Abhinanta Mathur of the Aam Aadmi Party and Shazia Elmi of the BJP continues to be with us. Abhinanta, when ordinary citizens are summoned by the ED or any law enforcement agency, I don't think we have the luxury of asking them, oh, why have you sent me this notice? What do you want to investigate? Your notice is illegal, so on and so forth. We only have the option of showing up before the agencies and answering their questions. Mr. Kejriwal, by not appearing and choosing to skip the summons, is basically saying that a different set of rules apply for him and a different set of rules apply for ordinary citizens.
Not at all, Zaka. I think that is a very unfair interpretation of what has happened. Every citizen has the right to challenge a summon, and that the person does at their own risk. Mr. Kejriwal thought that it was insufficient. The information provided in the summon was insufficient. He did not agree with the locus, or there was no mention of that. There was a lot of vagueness in the summon, and it was pretty routine. Plus, it happened in the context of, a political context where Mr. Manoj Tiwari, who's a BJP MP, had, sort of preempted or threatened that Mr. Kejriwal will be arrested on so-and-so date or in the coming days. So, given that and given the vagueness of the summon, all that Mr. Kejriwal has done is actually seek a clarification after the ED response. He will cooperate as he has in the past and as all our ministers.
If he was to cooperate, if the intention was to cooperate, he just needed to show up today at the ED office and answer their questions. What further sign of cooperation can there be?
No, not at all. Actually, I think it is everybody's right, anybody's right to safeguard themselves, to safeguard their interests. And there is no problem with that, especially in a context where we are saying this aloud, that there is a witch hunt against us, that there is political vendetta that is happening. So I don't see that. I don't see.
Shazia, please respond. It's a political vendetta, political witch hunt. Mr. Kejriwal is not named as an accused in the charge sheet. And Abhinandita is right. I mean, every lawyer will tell you this, that if you feel that a summons is not called for, or what is the locus of that summons, you're well within your right to write back and ask, you know, what am I being called for questioning? That's all the Chief Minister has done.
So, Zaka, first of all, I must say that I'm astounded by the profundity of this logic that was just offered. The fact of the matter is, Arvind Kejriwal knows only too well that there's no getting out of this. The newly scrapped excise policy has him in a big soup. His trusted lieutenant, the person who handles the excise policy, that is the whole liquor story, liquor gate, and the education minister and his deputy CM is very much in jail. And 6 times the bail of Manish Sisodia has been denied. Not just by the trial court, not just by the High Court, but by the Supreme Court. And not just that, all this while they were saying, where is the money? Now, this is a question the Supreme Court is asking them, like, where is the money? Now, what happened? And this figure, the profiteering that was done by increasing the distribution of the commission from 5% to 12%, and the balance of it, which meant windfall gains for this whole liquor lobby. What has happened to that money?
No, that's not for Mr. Kejriwal to prove or show. That's for the investigating agency.
Arvind Kejriwal,
that's for the investigating agencies to find out.
Zaka, why do you do this? I was answering.
No,
Zaka,
you're saying they have to show where the money is.
Something. You don't do this to others.
Arey,
no,
why are you making
I'm saying that this is exactly why. This is no, because you just jump in.
You made a point.
You've done it in the earlier
debate.
No bearing I'm saying
law.
Something.
In which law does it say accused has to show where the money is?
I have not even made a point.
Arey, for 5 minutes you spoke, Baba. You said Arvind Kejriwal has to show where the money is. Why should he show where the trail is?
Zaka, why are we doing this? Zaka,
okay,
please.
Answer the question.
Zaka,
why should
please,
he show?
Zaka, let me just speak.
Yeah.
Can you be quiet? You'll have to be quiet.
Why show you
no,
want me to
I'm
be quiet?
not saying that he has to prove that. I'm saying the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court. Let me speak. How will I speak if you speak at the same time?
Go
okay,
ahead.
you speak.
No, go ahead.
You don't be quiet. You don't be quiet.
You go ahead.
You don't be quiet. I won't be quiet.
Please
Is this the way you want to do the debate?
Sisodia has to prove where the money went.
Zaka,
Kejriwal has to move
pardon me. I just want to finish saying what I'm saying.
Yeah, go ahead.
Zaka, don't please. There's little time. You should be more worried about time than me. But I've been a former anchor, so I know how precious time is. So Supreme Court has clearly said that there is tentatively it's been established that there's rupees 358 crores. A money link is there. And earlier in a conversation, Samir Mahindru has also been arrested along with Vijay Nair, Aam Admi Party's political advisor. There is an entire FaceTime call, which is why they were trying to obstruct evidence and they were trying to destroy evidence and the phone and the various phones in the story. Can you imagine that not just that, Samir Mahindru was, Vijay Nair called up Arvind Kejriwal on the FaceTime call and Arvind Kejriwal reassured him, yes, ye hamara banda hai, this is my boy, go ahead and give the money. This is a complete, it's a case of,
okay.
This
See,
corruption.
you know, these are
all
charges that have been made
Arvind
in a
Kejriwal
charge sheet by the Enforcement Directorate.
Exactly. So
now, whether that is true or whether that is
Kejriwal
untrue will only be proved during the course of the trial. I am on a simple matter, and Abhinandita Mathur and the Aam Admi Party have to answer this question. Does the law of the land not apply to Mr. Kejriwal? How can he say, oh, ED has sent me a notice, I don't find merit in that notice, therefore I will not show up? I mean, if the ED sent a notice to me or to you or to Shazia, we have to show up. We don't have any other choice. The law of the land is you have to cooperate with the investigating authorities.
Correct.
And he will, and there is no evidence.
No, not at a time and place of his choosing, no?
No, not at all. I mean, he's only seeked a clarification. There is nothing more to it. And
okay, yeah.
believes that it's political vendetta. He sees some vagueness in the summon, and that's all. But I must respond to Shazia ji because it seems like she was a fly on the wall when the alleged FaceTime and these things were happening, because so far in the charge sheet, you know, there's only writing, but the dialogues and the emotion was all missing, and she's really brought alive an imaginary
These
scene.
questions have been asked Arvind Kejriwal in his earlier summoning. You know very little about the course proceedings. Arvind Kejriwal has been asked this question. Manish Sisodia has been asked this question. Vijay Nair has actually said that. It's been corroborated by Samir Mahindru.
Fair of you to think that I don't know enough.
Samir Mahindru and Vijay Nair in the court, my dear. That's where I got this information.
these
from
are
Vijay
allegations.
Nair and Samir Mahindra and
that
all
is-
the...
and that is what we find. That is what we
There's
find
no
very
fly on the wall.
BJP and the ED speak in one tone, in one language, in one dialogue. Nobody knows who comes first. Whether the ED is
Congress party is saying the same
All right,
thing about
I got to leave it at that.
Did
Thank
you
you very
hear?
much,
Congress is saying
Shazia Abhinandita Mathur. Let's see if the Chief Minister appears on the second summons that will be issued to him now that he has decided to skip today's. But like I said, the matter of principle is simple, that if an investigating agency or law enforcement agency asks you or me or any ordinary citizen of this country to show up for questioning, we have to do that. We have to bow down to the law of the land. That's the rule for you, for me. Clearly, Mr. Kejriwal thinks otherwise, and that's why he's asked questions. He said there's no locus. Whether or not the ED buys that, and whether or not he will be asked to appear for a second date, we'll have to wait and see. But for the moment, as we wrap up brass tacks, the war is raging on in the Middle East in the wake of the October 7th terror attacks. We do a deep dive into a concept paper that was released. In fact, it was leaked into the public domain. It is supposedly from the Ministry of Intelligence in Israel, which shows a comprehensive plan. Some would say an unviable one, but certainly a comprehensive and a breathtaking plan on how to deal with this conflict and what to do with the 2.2 million people of Gaza. A special report on that coming up. Thanks for tuning in. In a region plagued by conflict and a history of displacement, a recent Israeli intelligence report has sparked new concerns. This concept paper from the Israeli Intelligence Ministry, dated in the aftermath of the current devastating conflict, explores some radical options for dealing with Gaza. In this story, we try and take a deep dive into the details of this controversial plan, and it's why not just the Gazans, but also the wider Arab world that is up in arms about it. And most importantly, if this were to be implemented, then the potential ripple effects it could have even among supporters of Israel worldwide. The plan tentatively involves shifting the entire Gazan population, that's more than 2 million people, into the Sinai Desert in Egypt. But Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office has downplayed this report. Instead, they are emphasizing that this was just a concept paper. But this document has deepened long-standing Egyptian fears. It's also revived traumatic memories for the Palestinians. So much so, Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas's spokesperson, Nabil Abu Rudineh, has declared that they are against any transfer to any place in any form or fashion, and that the Palestinians would consider this a red line and will not be allowed to be crossed. The report's suggestions have reignited the painful memories of 1948, when hundreds of thousands of Palestinians had to flee their homes during the creation of the modern state of Israel. It is a wound that many Palestinians carry up until this very day. This document, which is dated 13th of October, came in the wake of the Hamas attack, which has killed over 1,400 people in southern Israel, and as a consequence, there is now a devastating war in Gaza. This document offered three alternatives for changing the situation in Gaza. One option standing out as the most desirable as far as Israel's security apparatus is concerned. The document also proposes relocating Gaza's entire civilian population, first to tent cities in northern Sinai, and then eventually the creation of more permanent cities and a humanitarian corridor between what is current-day Gaza and present-day Egypt. A security zone within Israel will prevent these displaced Palestinians from returning back to Gaza, some kind of a buffer or a no man's land, if you will. Egypt, in fact, once upon a time used to rule over Gaza. in the period between 1948, after the creation of Israel, up until 1967, when the first major Arab-Israeli war happened. But that changed after the 1967 war, when Israel annexed Gaza from Egypt and also managed to annex parts of the West Bank from Jordan. Now Egypt fears that Israel intends to force a permanent expulsion of all Palestinians onto their territory, which could jeopardize the 1979 peace treaty between Cairo and Tel Aviv. Israeli experts warn that this draft proposal could also put a severe strain on Israel-Egypt ties. Remember, that is a vital partnership in this region. It keeps the Rafah crossing open in the south, through which Gaza used to get much of its water and electricity, at least up until this conflict began. Right now, there is an entire blockade of essential supplies into and out of Gaza. This report, this intelligence document, also suggests that countries like Egypt and Turkey, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, even the United Arab Emirates could financially support this plan or even take up some of these uprooted Gazans as refugees. Canada's lenient immigration policies also make it a potential resettlement destination for these Palestinians. The proposal acknowledges potential complications which concern international legitimacy. But the document also argues that evacuating the population could lead to fewer civilian casualties than if there were to be a full-blown conflict, as is the case right now. The Israeli government has distanced itself from this report, from this intelligence document that's been leaked. They are clarifying that this is not binding on the Israeli War Cabinet or on the Israeli Parliament, and it has not even been seriously discussed within security circles in Israel. The focus of the current operation remains squarely on dismantling Hamas's capabilities. Now, interestingly, the report also dismisses two other options, one of which is reinstating the West Bank-based Palestinian Authority, and the other is to support a local regime as ineffective in deterring these attacks on Israel. The reinstatement of the Palestinian Authority, of course, would be seen as a risky move, given the violent history between Israel and PA, and also the kind of dominance that Hamas has had in Gaza over the last decade and a half. Also, Mahmoud Abbas's party is highly unpopular in Gaza because of multiple corruption allegations of cutting deals with Israel. All of this has given it a bad name. Though ordinary Gazans have no love lost for the Hamas, it is still seen as the only legitimate voice of the Gazan people. Uprooting Hamas would be seen, in some quarters certainly, as hypocritical, in fact, in the eyes of most Palestinians. The implications of this concept paper are profound and they're far-reaching. It affects not just Israelis and Palestinians, but also neighboring countries in the Arab world and perhaps even global stability. As the region grapples with the aftermath of this conflict and the complex challenges of how to coexist, something that has persistently been the bane of this region for the last 75 years, this report serves as a stark reminder of the deep-rooted tensions between Israelis and Palestinians, and also perhaps therein the urgent need for a lasting, permanent solution. It is also a severe test of not just Israel and its intentions, but also that of Palestinians' Arab neighbors. What will come to pass, whether Israel will be able to completely move out more than 2 million people, and whether or not those people will be accepted by other countries, in this case Egypt or even other neighboring countries, that is still an open question.
Presented by to the party coffers via the liquor policy change route. So these are questions that the ED's investigating officer wants Mr. Kejriwal to answer. There are fresh leads that have emerged from questioning of Aam Aadmi Party's Rajya Sabha MP Sanjay Singh and his aides also. Plus Arvind Kejriwal's own close, aides like Biplab, like